The battlefield was silent now. Smoke floated above the broken ships like ghosts searching for home. The air was heavy with the smell of metal and burnt soil. From the wreck of a crashed Vrax transport, an alien soldier crawled out. Her name was Sarah, a scout from the Vrax Dominion. Her armor was cracked open on one side and blue blood dripped down her ribs. She pressed one hand against her wound, gasping for breath. Each step was pain. Each breath was fire. Around her, the world burned. Human ships had destroyed her fleet within minutes. The stories were true. Humans were fast, brutal, and without mercy. Sarah had been told that if ever captured, she should expect death, not kindness. Humans did not take prisoners. They made examples. She tried to move, dragging herself toward a pile of fallen metal. Maybe she could hide until the night came. Maybe she could die unseen. But then she heard it, footsteps, slow, heavy, getting closer. Her heart began to race. Her breathing grew shallow. She turned her head, her vision blurred by dust and pain. Through the smoke, a shape appeared. Tall, covered in black armor. A human. The figure walked calmly through the wreckage, rifle ready. His visor glowed faint blue, reflecting the firelight. He looked like death itself. Sarah froze. Her hand reached for her blaster, but it was gone. Her claws scraped the dirt. She hissed softly, "End it, human." "Do it quickly." The human stopped a few feet away. He said nothing. Only the sound of the wind filled the silence. Then, to her confusion, he lowered his weapon. He took a slow step forward, crouched beside her, and opened a small pack from his belt. Inside was a medical kit. Sarah blinked in disbelief. "What are you doing?" she asked weakly. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "You're bleeding out." "Hold still." She stared at him as if he had spoken madness. "Help an enemy?" she whispered. "You will be punished." The man shrugged slightly. "Maybe, but I don't kill the wounded." He pressed a small injector against her side. She flinched, expecting pain, but instead warmth spread through her body. The pain faded. The bleeding slowed. Her mind couldn't understand it. Humans destroy planets. They burn cities. They don't heal. The human noticed her confusion. "You don't have to understand," he said. "Just breathe." For a long moment, neither spoke. The fire cracked in the distance, and somewhere above, a human drone hummed. Finally, Sarah asked, "What is your name?" "Captain Ryan Hale," he replied. "United Earth Forces." He looked at her wound again, then glanced at the burning sky. "You need to get out of here. More patrols will come." Sarah tried to push herself up, but her legs failed. "Leave me," she said. "You will die if they find you helping me." Ryan didn't listen. Without a word, he lifted her easily onto his shoulder. His armor hummed as he walked through the debris, carrying her away from the crash site. Sarah's claws rested weakly against his armor. She could feel his heartbeat beneath the metal, slow and steady. Nothing like the cold monster she imagined. When they reached a small cave hidden by rock, he laid her down gently and began setting up a small field light. The glow revealed his face, tired eyes, a scar across his jaw, and a strange calm in his expression. Sarah studied him carefully. Why save me?" Ryan looked up at her. His answer came after a long silence. "Because we've all lost enough," he said softly. "Killing you won't change that." She didn't know what to say. Her people would have killed him without question. He offered her a small container of water. She stared at it suspiciously, then took a sip. It was clean, pure. For the first time in her life, an enemy had shown her mercy. Outside, the night deepened. The sounds of search drones echoed faintly. Ryan adjusted a small device hiding their heat signature. He sat near the entrance, rifle across his knees, eyes scanning the darkness. Sarah watched him. The way he moved, alert, careful, protective. It was strange. He could have left her to die, but he didn't. She spoke quietly, her voice trembling. "In my world, humans are monsters. We are told your kind feels joy in pain." Ryan gave a short, tired laugh. "Some do," he said. "But most of us just want peace, peace." She repeated the words slowly, as if it were something fragile. The night was cold. She shivered, and he noticed. Without a word, he took off his outer jacket and placed it over her shoulders. Sarah stared at him, confused again. "You risk everything for an enemy." Ryan didn't meet her eyes. "You stop being an enemy when you stop fighting," he said simply. For a long moment, there was silence again. Only the faint hum of the distant war machines filled the air. Sarah looked at the human sitting in front of her, his face half lit by the blue light. The fear inside her began to mix with something else, curiosity and a strange, unfamiliar warmth. She had expected pain. She had expected death. But this human gave her something she never thought possible: hope. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she remembered the look in his eyes, tired but kind. She thought of the stories told in her academy, how humans burned planets, how they laughed as they destroyed. Yet here was one sitting only a few feet away, guarding her while she slept. Maybe, she thought, the universe had lied. Morning came slowly. The sun rose like a weak fire through the dusty sky. The war had turned everything gray. Inside the small cave, Sarah opened her eyes. Her wound still hurt, but she could move now. She looked around. The human, Captain Ryan Hale, was gone. Panic shot through her chest. Had he left her behind? Was this some kind of trick? She sat up quickly, breathing hard. Then she heard the sound of boots again. Footsteps outside the cave. Ryan appeared at the entrance carrying a metal container. "Relax," he said. "I went for water." He placed it beside her and sat down, tired but calm. His armor was scratched and dust covered his face. Sarah stared at him. "You came back," she said quietly. "Of course," he replied. "I told you I don't leave people to die." She frowned. "People? I'm not even your species." Ryan gave a faint smile. "Doesn't matter. You bleed, you breathe. That's close enough." Sarah didn't know how to respond. For her whole life, she had been trained to hate humans. They were the reason her planet burned. Yet this one spoke as if they were equal. Ryan began to clean his rifle. The silence between them was strange. Not cold, just heavy with things unsaid. Finally, Sarah asked, "Why did you help me, really?" "There must be another reason." Ryan looked up. His eyes met hers, and for the first time she saw pain there, deep and old. "Because," he said softly, "once someone helped me when I didn't deserve it." Sarah tilted her head. "Who?" He didn't answer. He stood up, walked to the cave mouth, and stared at the empty horizon. The silence said enough. Whoever it was, they were gone. Hours passed. Ryan checked his communicator again and again, but the signal was jammed. He cursed under his breath. Sarah watched him closely. "You are lost, aren't you?" she asked. He gave a small, bitter laugh. "Yeah, my squad was supposed to rendezvous after the bombing run, but they never showed." "So you're alone too," she said quietly. He nodded. "Seems that way." The two sat together, enemies in name only, trapped on a world that no longer cared who won. Sarah touched her side gently. The bandages were clean and tight. "You're good at this," she said. "You've saved many lives?" Ryan hesitated. "Used to," he replied. "Before the war changed everything." His words carried a weight she could feel. There was something in his voice, guilt. "What did the war take from you?" she asked. He looked at her sharply, then away. "Someone I loved," he said after a long pause. "Someone who believed humans could be better than this." Sarah lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said. Ryan gave a faint nod, then changed the subject. "You should eat something." He handed her a ration pack. She sniffed it carefully, suspicious. "What is this?" "Food," he said with a grin. "Not great, but it keeps you alive." Sarah took a small bite. It was dry, tasteless, but strangely comforting. For a while, they ate in silence. Outside, the wind picked up, and the sound of distant thunder rolled over the land. Then a sudden crackle came from Ryan's communicator. A voice. "Captain Hale. Do you read? This is Command Unit 7. Ryan's eyes widened. He grabbed the device quickly. "Command, this is Hale. I copy. Report your position. We detected movement in Sector Delta. Are you alone?" Ryan hesitated. His eyes flicked toward Sarah, who watched him silently. "Affirmative," he said finally. "I'm alone." "Just me." Sarah understood what that meant. He was lying to protect her. The voice continued. "Good. Stay put. Extraction team will arrive in 2 hours. Prepare for pickup." The line went dead. Ryan sighed and placed the communicator down. His hands trembled slightly. Sarah asked quietly, "Why didn't you tell them I'm here?" He looked at her, his face serious now. Because if they find you, they'll kill you. Slowly. And they'll punish me too for helping an enemy. Sarah stared at him in shock. Then you are risking your life for me. Ryan nodded. Yeah, guess I am. She didn't know what to say. The silence between them grew heavy again, filled with emotion neither could explain. Finally, Sarah whispered, You humans are strange. One moment you destroy worlds, the next. You save your enemy. Ryan smiled faintly. Maybe we're both strange. You could have attacked me when I helped you. I thought about it, she admitted. But you gave me water. And that confused me more than any weapon could. They both laughed softly, a small, tired laugh, but real. As the hours passed, the storm grew louder outside. Lightning flashed across the gray sky. Ryan began checking his gear again. When they come, I'll distract them, he said quietly. You'll have to run south through the ridge. There's a canyon. You can hide there until night. Sarah shook her head. You'll be caught. I'll manage, he said, though his eyes betrayed the truth. She reached out, her clawed hand touching his wrist gently. You don't have to do this. You owe me nothing. Ryan looked down at her hand, then into her eyes. That's the point, he said softly. We don't have to do good things only for people we owe. For a moment, neither moved. The wind outside howled louder, like the world was warning them both. Then a distant sound echoed. The hum of engines. Human dropships? Ryan stood up quickly. They're early. Sarah's eyes widened. What will you do? He grabbed his rifle and checked the charge. I'll buy you time. Go to the canyon. I won't leave you, she said firmly. He turned to her, his voice low but strong. Sarah, you have to. If they find you, it's over. She hesitated, her throat tight. Then, slowly, she nodded. Ryan opened a hidden panel in the cave wall and pointed toward a narrow tunnel. It leads outside. Stay low, move fast. She looked at him one last time. I will see you again? Ryan gave a faint smile. I hope so. Then he turned toward the cave entrance, weapon ready. As Sarah crawled into the tunnel, the sound of gunfire broke the silence. Her heart pounded. She wanted to go back, but she couldn't. She ran through the dark passage, each echo of battle tearing at her chest. When she finally reached the open ridge, she looked back. Smoke rose from the cave. She whispered softly, Human. Please survive. The wind screamed across the barren ridge. Gray dust spun around Sarah as she stumbled through the canyon's mouth. Her body still hurt, but her heart burned with fear, and something else she didn't want to name. Behind her, smoke rose from the hills where the cave once was. The sound of gunfire echoed faintly in the distance. She stopped and turned back, staring toward the black clouds. Ryan, she whispered. He had saved her twice now, once from death and again from his own people. But had he survived this time? Her mind screamed to go back, but logic fought her heart. She was weak, unarmed, and hunted. Going back would mean both of them dying, so she kept moving down the canyon path. The air grew colder. The sun disappeared behind the cliffs. As she walked, memories flooded her. The look in Ryan's eyes, the way his voice softened when he spoke to her. He wasn't like the others. Couldn't be. And yet why had he been so quick to lie to his own command? Why did he seem to hate the war as much as she did? The question spun in her head like a storm. Hours later, Sarah found shelter inside a hollow rock formation. The floor was dry and faint blue moss glowed softly along the walls. She sat down, exhausted. Her hands shook as she unwrapped the bandages around her wound. The healing foam Ryan had used was still working. She was alive because of him. She touched the bandage gently and whispered, Why did you do this, human? What are you hiding? A soft beep interrupted her thoughts. She looked down and saw a small, blinking device tucked in the side of her armor. Something Ryan must have slipped there. She pressed it. A small hologram flickered to life. Ryan's face appeared, tired but calm. If you're seeing this, Sarah, it means I couldn't reach you, his recorded voice said. Listen carefully. The humans. They're not what they used to be. Command has changed. We follow orders that shouldn't exist, Sarah froze. His voice continued. My unit was sent to wipe out every surviving alien. Not soldiers, not threats, civilians. They told us it was for peace. But it wasn't peace. It was control. That's why I saved you. The message glitched, then returned. I don't know how much time I have. But if you make it out, Find the city ruins north of here. There's someone waiting. They know the truth about this war. Tell them Captain Ryan Hale sent you." The hologram flickered and vanished. Sarah sat frozen, the words echoing in her head. The humans weren't just fighting, they were cleansing. Erasing species, her claws clenched tight. He risked everything for the truth. Night fell over the canyon. Stars glimmered faintly through the dust clouds above. Sarah stood up, pulling the cloak Ryan had given her tightly around her shoulders. The path north was long, but she had no choice. She began walking again, her steps silent on the cold ground. For hours she moved through darkness, every sound making her heart jump. Drones flew above from time to time, scanning the land. She hid behind rocks, holding her breath until they passed. By dawn, she reached the edge of a massive crater. Beyond it, she saw what remained of a city. Old towers half buried in sand. Broken streets and faint lights flickering far in the distance. The ruins of Eden 9. A human outpost from the early wars. This must be the place Ryan meant. But before she could move forward, she heard something. A faint metallic noise behind her. She turned quickly. A shadow moved on the ridge, her pulse raced. She grabbed a piece of broken metal as a weapon, eyes searching the darkness. Then a voice came. "Don't move." A beam of blue light flashed over her. A human scanner. Sarah's body stiffened. She stepped back slowly. "No," she whispered. From behind a rock, 2 armored soldiers appeared. Human insignia gleamed on their shoulders. The same as Ryan's. One raised his rifle. Target confirmed. Vrax survivor. Orders are to terminate. Sarah's heart sank. She took a step back, clutching the metal shard. But before the soldier could shoot, a new voice shouted from behind them. "Stand down!" Both soldiers turned in surprise. A third figure stepped forward, his armor scratched, his helmet cracked, but his voice unmistakable. "Ryan," Sarah's eyes widened. "You're alive." He lowered his weapon and stood between her and the soldiers. "She's under my protection," he said firmly. One of the soldiers hesitated. "Captain, command ordered full extermination." "That thing is the enemy." Ryan's voice grew cold. "If you pull that trigger, you'll be firing on your own officer." A tense silence followed. The 2 soldiers exchanged nervous looks. Finally, one of them lowered his gun slightly. "Sir, this is treason." Ryan's eyes didn't waver. "Then I guess I'm a traitor." The first soldier cursed and aimed again. But Ryan moved faster. One sharp motion, a burst of light, and the soldier's weapon flew from his hand. The second soldier hesitated only a moment before retreating into the shadows, shouting, "Command will hear about this." When they were gone, the desert fell silent again. Ryan turned back to Sarah. His armor was damaged, blood seeping from his shoulder. He looked exhausted. Sarah stepped closer, voice trembling. "You came back for me." "After all that," he smiled weakly. "I said I would, didn't I?" She reached out and helped him sit down. His hands shook as he pulled off his helmet. His face was pale, his eyes full of exhaustion and pain, but still kind. Sarah whispered, "They will hunt you now." Ryan nodded. "Yeah, but maybe together we can end this war the right way." She looked at him. Confusion mixing with something deeper, respect, trust, and the strange warmth that had started back in that cave. Ryan looked toward the ruined city. "In that place," he said, "are people who want peace, humans and aliens both. They're waiting for proof that not all of us are monsters." Sarah smiled faintly. "Then let's give them proof." As the 2 walked toward the broken city under the rising sun, the world around them felt strangely quiet. Enemies no more, but hunted by both sides. For the first time, Sarah didn't fear the human beside her. She feared what the world would do to stop them. The morning sun climbed slowly over the shattered skyline of Eden 9. The city once belonged to humans, but now it was only a graveyard of broken steel and half-buried towers. Ryan and Sarah moved carefully through the ruins. Dust covered everything. Old banners of the United Earth Forces flapped weakly in the wind. Ryan limped as he walked, his injured shoulder bleeding again. Sarah tried to support him, her clawed hand steady on his arm. "We need to stop," she said softly. Ryan nodded and sat beside a fallen statue of some forgotten hero. He looked up at the cracked face. "Funny," he muttered. "They built this city to prove humanity could build peace. And look at it now." Sarah sat beside him. "Maybe peace is not something you build. Maybe it's something you choose. Ryan looked at her, surprised by her words. A faint smile touched his lips. You sound like someone I used to know. She tilted her head. The person you lost? He didn't answer, but the pain in his eyes said everything. They rested for a while. The wind whistled through empty windows. In the distance, something beeped, the faint sound of machinery still alive beneath the ruins. Sarah's sharp ears caught it first. There's power underground, she said. Maybe someone's here. Ryan stood, checking his scanner. A weak signal blinked on the screen. There's a bunker below Sector C. That must be it. The two followed the signal through collapsed streets until they found a metal hatch half hidden by rubble. It was locked tight, but Ryan's military code chip still worked. The door hissed open with a deep metallic groan. Inside was darkness, and the smell of dust and oil. They climbed down the ladder. Lights flickered to life one by one, revealing a long tunnel leading to a control room. Old computers lined the walls. Some still blinked faintly, and then a voice. Don't move, Sarah froze. Ryan raised his hand slowly. From behind an overturned console, 3 figures appeared. 2 humans and 1 alien, all wearing mixed armor with no official insignia. Their weapons aimed steady. A tall woman with a mechanical arm stepped forward. Captain Ryan Hale, she said. You're supposed to be dead. Ryan recognized the voice instantly. Commander Vale? The woman smirked. Used to be. Now I lead the survivors who still think for themselves. She looked at Sarah. And I see you brought company. Sarah stiffened. You know who I am? Vale nodded. Vrax soldier, enemy of Earth, or that's what command says. But I stopped believing them a long time ago. Ryan lowered his hands. You're the contact mentioned in the message? Vale nodded again. Yes, I got your signal days ago. You said you had proof of what command's really doing. Ryan reached into his chest pocket and pulled out a small data chip. Here, all the mission logs. Every order they gave us, civilian targets, biological cleansing, everything. Vale took it carefully. If this is true, it changes everything. Sarah looked around the room. What is this place? Vale gestured toward the walls. Eden 9 was built as a peace station, the first base meant for humans and aliens to live together. When the higher council saw unity growing, they destroyed it. We've been hiding here since. Sarah's eyes widened. So the war was never about survival. Vale shook her head. It was about control. Both sides needed fear to keep their people loyal. Ryan clenched his fists. We were all puppets. Vale motioned to one of her team to connect the data chip. The screens flickered, showing video files. Soldiers executing unarmed families, cities being bombed, and orders signed by top generals. Sarah looked away, sickened. Ryan's face went pale. Vale watched quietly. If we can send this to the public networks, the truth will spread. Maybe the killing will finally stop, Ryan nodded. Then let's do it. But before they could move, the base lights dimmed. A deep rumbling sound filled the tunnel. What's happening? Sarah asked. Vale ran to a console. Someone's found us. The scanners just went offline. Ryan grabbed his weapon. How many? Vale looked at the screen, her voice grim. A whole strike team. They must have tracked your signal. Sarah stepped closer to Ryan. You said we could end this war. We can't die here. Ryan smiled faintly. Then we won't. He turned to Vale. Get the data ready for upload. I'll buy you time. Vale shook her head. You can't fight them alone, Hale. Ryan met her eyes. I'm not alone. He looked at Sarah. The Vrax soldier nodded once. Let them come. Moments later, the first blast shook the bunker. The main door burst open as armored soldiers stormed inside. Laser fire lit up the hallways. Ryan took cover behind a console and returned fire, his shots precise. Sarah moved with alien speed, leaping between shadows and knocking weapons aside with her claws. For a brief moment, it was chaos. Light, smoke, and screams. Vale's team worked fast, connecting the chip to the network tower. Sparks flew as the system overloaded. Transmission at 40%. Someone shouted. Ryan ducked behind a wall, reloading. How long? 2 minutes. Vale yelled. A grenade rolled across the floor. Ryan grabbed it and threw it back before it exploded in midair. Sarah fought beside him, her movements smooth and deadly. She had once fought against humans like this. Now she was fighting for one. Their eyes met between bursts of gunfire. No words were needed. Finally, Vale shouted, "Upload complete!" Ryan's heart jumped. "Then we're done. Pull the drive and seal the room." Vale yanked the chip out and slammed the console shut. But before they could escape, another explosion tore through the ceiling. A figure stepped through the smoke. A tall officer in heavy black armor, the insignia of command glowing red on his chest. "Captain Ryan Hale," the man said coldly. "You've betrayed your species." Ryan aimed his rifle. "No, I'm saving it." The officer raised his weapon. "Then you'll die for it." Before he could fire, Sarah leapt forward, claws flashing. The officer fired once. The shot hit her shoulder, but she kept moving, tackling him to the ground. Ryan rushed in, grabbing her before she fell. The officer crashed into a console, sparks flying. Sarah's breathing grew weak. "Ryan, go!" He held her tightly. "I'm not leaving you." Vale shouted from behind them. "The data is out. Everyone will know the truth." Ryan looked down at Sarah, his voice trembling. Then it was worth it. Outside, the sky lit up as command ships arrived. Too late to stop the broadcast. All over the galaxy, the truth began to spread. In the ruins of Eden 9, among smoke and silence, a human and an alien sat side by side, no longer enemies, but symbols of something greater than war. The wind howled through the broken towers of Eden 9. Smoke still rose from the battle that had ended only hours ago. Ryan leaned against a cracked wall, holding his side where the laser burn still glowed faintly. His breath came hard and shallow. Sarah sat close beside him, her silver armor dimmed and scratched. She pressed a healing patch on his wound. "You're losing too much blood," she said quietly. "It's just a scratch," Ryan replied with a weak smile. "You humans call everything a scratch," Sarah muttered, shaking her head. They were alive, for now. But Ryan knew that wouldn't last. The moment the data upload went live, Command would mark them both as traitors. Every ship, every drone, every soldier would be hunting them. Sarah looked toward the sky, where the faint red lights of patrol ships blinked in the clouds. "They will find us soon," she said. "Then we don't give them the chance," Ryan answered, forcing himself to stand. "We move." They left the city before dawn, heading toward the wastelands outside Eden 9. The landscape was endless gray sand and old wrecks, the skeletons of machines from forgotten wars. The silence was heavy. Only the wind spoke. Sarah walked beside Ryan, her eyes scanning the horizon. "You could have left," she said suddenly. "After the upload, you could have escaped without me." Ryan stopped, looking at her. "And let them kill you? Not my style." She studied him for a moment. "You risked everything for someone who was your enemy." Ryan shrugged. "Maybe I was tired of enemies." For the first time since he'd met her, Sarah smiled. Just a small, uncertain smile. "Then maybe there's hope for your kind after all," she said softly. By midday, they found an abandoned outpost buried in sand. The structure was small, half-collapsed, but still had power. They took shelter inside. Ryan searched through old supplies, food packs, filters, an old radio transmitter. Sarah examined a cracked mirror on the wall. Her reflection flickered in the broken glass. "I never thought I'd stand on this planet," she whispered. "My people called it cursed." "You're not the first alien to say that," Ryan replied, opening a can of old rations. "But trust me, it grows on you." She turned to him. "Why did you join the war?" Ryan's face darkened. "Because I believed the lies. I thought I was saving humanity. Turns out I was just helping someone else stay in power." Sarah sat across from him. "And now?" Ryan looked at her for a long moment. "Now, just want to make things right." That night, Sarah woke to a faint buzzing sound. A red light blinked on the far wall. Motion detector. She moved fast, shaking Ryan awake. "They found us." Before he could reply, the roof exploded. Drones swarmed in, beams of light cutting through the dust. Ryan grabbed his weapon and fired. Sarah rolled behind a pillar, throwing an energy pulse that fried 2 drones instantly. But there were more. A robotic voice echoed through the night, cold and emotionless. "Ryan Hale, surrender. You are classified as a traitor to human command." Ryan shouted back, "Tell command they can go to hell," and shot down another drone. Sarah moved with deadly precision. her claws slashing through metal like paper. Sparks flew around her. For a brief moment, it looked like lightning itself was fighting beside Ryan. But there were too many. Ryan threw a flash bomb, grabbed Sarah's arm, and ran through a side tunnel as the outpost collapsed behind them. They kept running until they reached the canyon beyond the ridge. Both were gasping for breath but alive. "They won't stop," Sarah said, her voice steady but low. "Neither will we," Ryan replied. They found an old transport ship buried half in the sand. It was dead, but its systems still blinked weakly. Ryan climbed inside and started pulling panels open. "If we can get this flying, we can reach the outer colonies. Maybe someone still believes the truth there." Sarah tilted her head. "You really think anyone will help us?" Ryan's fingers moved fast over the controls. "Someone has to." After hours of work, the engine finally roared to life. The old ship lifted slowly, shuddering but steady. Ryan looked at her. "Hold on." As they rose into the dark sky, bright lights appeared behind them. Pursuit ships. Command had found them again. "They're locking weapons," Sarah warned. "Then let's see if this old bird can still fly." Ryan pushed the thrusters to full. The ship dove between storm clouds as missiles streaked past them. One exploded nearby, shaking the cockpit. Sarah gripped the seat. "We can't outrun them forever." Ryan smiled grimly. "We don't need forever, just long enough." He pulled a lever, flipping the ship into a narrow canyon. The enemy ships followed, firing wildly. The sky flashed red. Suddenly, Ryan saw something ahead. An old power conduit tower. "Sarah, hold tight." He fired at the tower's base. It exploded, collapsing into the canyon. Two of the chasing ships smashed into the debris. The rest broke formation. For a moment, everything was quiet again. Sarah looked at Ryan, breathing hard. "You are insane," he laughed. "Takes one to fly with me." Hours later, the ship finally stabilized in orbit. Through the cracked window, the planet looked small and blue. Ryan sat back, exhausted. "We made it out." Sarah didn't answer at first. Her gaze was fixed on the stars. "You humans, you fight for things even when you're broken." "Yeah," Ryan said softly. "Maybe that's what makes us human." Then his console beeped. A new signal flashed on the screen via an unknown frequency. A voice came through, distorted but clear enough. "Captain Hale, we received your transmission. The truth is spreading, but Command isn't the only one coming for you. Something else woke up when you sent that signal." Ryan frowned. "What do you mean, is something else?" The voice crackled. "You'll find out soon. Just stay alive." The message ended. Sarah looked at him, her eyes sharp. "Who was that?" Ryan shook his head. "No idea, but whatever it is, it's not human." They stared out at the stars, silent, uncertain, and aware that the real danger had only just begun. Space stretched endlessly around them, black, silent, and full of secrets. The old ship drifted between the stars, its engines humming softly. Inside, Ryan sat at the console, staring at the flickering signal that had just appeared on his screen. The voice still echoed in his mind. "Something else woke up when you sent that signal." He didn't know who had sent it, or what it meant, but the feeling in his gut told him it wasn't good. Across the cockpit, Sarah watched him silently. The glow from the monitors reflected in her silver eyes. "You've been staring at that for hours," she said. "Because it keeps changing," Ryan replied. "It's not a normal transmission, it's adapting." He zoomed in on the data stream. The signal pulsed in strange, rhythmic patterns, like it was breathing. "It's alive," Sarah whispered. Ryan frowned. "You mean artificial intelligence?" She shook her head slowly. "No, something older. Something that shouldn't exist." They moved the ship to a safe drift position near a dead satellite. Ryan connected the ship's systems to analyze the signal. The moment he linked it, the lights flickered. A low hum filled the room. Sarah stepped back, her claws tightening. "Ryan, stop. It's connecting to your systems." "I know," he said, trying to override it. "I just need to see what it wants." Suddenly, the ship's screens went black. A faint whisper echoed through the speakers. A voice layered and deep. "Ryan Hale." "You have broken the silence." Ryan froze. "Who are you?" No answer came, only more whispering, like 1,000 voices speaking at once. Then words formed again. "We are the architects. You released what we buried." Sarah's voice trembled. "Architects?" That name is in Vrak's legends, ancient beings who built the first gateways between worlds. Ryan's pulse quickened. If they were real, they vanished thousands of years ago. Or maybe, Sarah said, they were erased. The voice spoke again. The war you fight is not yours. You serve the echo of our design. Stop, or all will end as before. Then the lights returned, White, and the signal vanished. Ryan sat in silence. The hum of the ship felt louder now. Did that really just happen? He asked quietly. Sarah nodded. They warned you. Warned me about what? The war, command? No, she said softly. About what's coming next. She looked out the viewport. In the distance, a faint blue light glowed among the stars, pulsing like a heartbeat. There, she said. That's where the signal came from. Ryan stared at it. Coordinates? Unknown, Sarah replied. It's not marked on any star map, Ryan stood. Then we're going there. Sarah's eyes widened. Are you insane? That thing spoke through your systems. Knows you? Exactly, Ryan said. And I need to know why. Hours later, they approached the coordinates. The closer they came, the stranger the readings grew. The stars themselves seemed to bend, light curving in impossible ways. A massive structure appeared ahead, half hidden in a swirling cloud of dust, a colossal ring of metal and stone, floating silently in space. Symbols older than any known language glowed faintly along its surface. Is that a gateway? Ryan whispered. No, Sarah said, her voice trembling. It's a tomb. The ship's sensors went wild, power surges, magnetic storms, strange energy signatures. Ryan tightened his grip on the controls. We're going in. Ryan, we came this far. I have to know what they buried. As they entered the ring, everything changed. The stars vanished, replaced by a field of swirling blue light. Their ship floated inside what looked like an endless chamber filled with frozen shapes. Like giant statues, all humanoid, but not quite human. Sarah's breath caught. They're not statues. They're machines. Ryan moved closer to the viewport. The machines were covered in dust, but their eyes glowed faintly, as if watching. Then the ship's systems activated by themselves. The same deep voice filled the air again. The architects created life, and life created war. What do you want from us? Ryan demanded. To finish what we began. The largest of the machine forms began to move, slowly, heavily. Its head turned toward them, eyes burning white. Sarah gripped Ryan's arm. We have to leave now, but the ship wouldn't respond. The engines were locked. The voice spoke once more. The message you sent woke us. The war you fought is only a reflection. The true enemy still sleeps, and now it stirs. The machine raised one massive hand, pointing directly at their ship. Find the origin, or all life will burn again. The light burst suddenly, blinding, endless. When Ryan opened his eyes, the ship was drifting again in open space. The ring was gone. No sign of the machines. No record on the scanners. Was it real? Sarah whispered. I don't know, Ryan said, still shaking. But we have new coordinates. He showed her the screen, a single star system marked in red. The origin, she murmured. Ryan looked out into the void. Whatever this is, command, the Vraks, the architects, and it's all connected. Sarah nodded slowly. Then we follow the trail. Ryan's gaze hardened. And we make sure no one else dies for their lies. He set the course. The engines roared softly, carrying them toward the unknown. But far behind them, in the dark between stars, one of the giant machines slowly turned its head, its eyes glowing brighter, as if waiting. Stars stretched endlessly around the ship, silent witnesses to the journey. For 3 days, Ryan and Sarah followed the coordinates the architects had given them. The path led far beyond mapped space, to a region where even light seemed afraid to travel. Ryan sat at the controls, his eyes heavy but determined. Almost there, he said quietly. Sarah stood behind him, her gaze fixed on the dark ahead. I can feel it, she whispered. Something ancient. Something watching. The ship's sensors began to flicker. Static filled the screens. Then slowly, an image appeared. A massive planet shrouded in storm clouds and lightning. At its center was a glowing scar across the surface, shaped like an enormous spiral. That's it, Ryan said. The origin. Sarah's voice was soft. It looks alive. As they entered the planet's orbit, the ship shook violently. The atmosphere was thick, full of electromagnetic storms. Ryan struggled with the controls. "Hold tight," he shouted. Lightning flashed across the cockpit. Systems went dark, then flickered back. Finally, the ship broke through the clouds and descended toward the surface. They landed on a plateau of black stone, surrounded by deep canyons glowing faintly with blue light. The silence was heavy, unnatural. Even the wind sounded distant. Ryan stepped out first, blaster in hand. The air was thin, cold, and humming, like a heartbeat. Sarah followed, her armor faintly glowing against the darkness. They walked toward the edge of the plateau. Below them, rivers of energy flowed through the cracks of the planet, light that moved like veins. "It's not a planet," Sarah whispered. "It's a machine, a living one," Ryan said. "The architects built this. They found a massive door built into the rock. Symbols glowed faintly on its surface, the same markings from the ring in space. As Ryan touched it, the door rumbled and slowly opened. Inside was a vast chamber, lit by pillars of white energy. At its center stood a sphere suspended in midair, rotating slowly. Strange holograms flickered around it. Stars, ships, planets. Sarah stepped closer. "This is everything." "All history," Ryan reached out. The sphere reacted to his touch, flashing images into the air around them. They saw humans and Vracs working together in the distant past, building cities of light. Then war, then fire. Sarah stared, horrified. "We were allies once," Ryan nodded slowly. "They erased it from both our histories." The images shifted again, showing towering machines descending from the sky, their voices echoing through time. "We are the architects," the voice said. "We created unity, but they used it for war." Ryan's chest tightened. "They created us." Sarah looked at him sharply. "What do you mean?" "Humans, Vracs. Both species. We're part of the same experiment." The sphere pulsed brighter, as if confirming his words. "You were made to continue what we began," the voice said. But the design was corrupted. Suddenly the chamber trembled. The ground cracked beneath them. The voice grew louder. "The enemy we fought once has returned. The silence will not hold." A dark mist began to seep through the cracks, black, swirling energy that felt alive. Ryan raised his weapon instinctively. "What is that?" Sarah backed away, her voice trembling. "The corruption. The thing that ended the architects." The mist began to rise, taking shape. A shadow made of shifting metal and whispers. "You spread truth," it hissed. "You woke what should have slept." Ryan aimed his rifle. "We didn't come here to wake you. We came for answers. Then learn," the shadow hissed, lunging forward. A blast of energy hit the ground where they stood. Sarah pushed Ryan aside, taking the hit across her shoulder. Sparks flew from her armor. Ryan fired again and again, but the shadow absorbed every shot. "You cannot kill what was born from your creation," it whispered. Ryan grabbed Sarah's hand and pulled her behind a fallen pillar. "There has to be a way to shut it down." Sarah looked at the sphere. "The core. It's controlling everything here." Ryan ran toward it as the chamber shook violently. The shadow followed, growing larger. He reached the control platform, sparks flying under his feet. He tore open the console. The symbols glowed, waiting. Sarah shouted, "Ryan! The code!" He looked at her, then at the sphere. "If they created us, maybe they left part of themselves in us too." He pressed his hand to the core. Instantly, the room exploded in light. The voice of the architects returned, louder and clearer. "Chosen by will, not by blood. End the cycle." The shadow screamed as the light spread through the chamber, burning away the darkness. The entire planet shook as if it were alive again. Sarah shielded her eyes. "Ryan." He turned toward her, his body glowing faintly, the same light as the core. "Go," he shouted. "I can stop it." "Not without you," she cried. He smiled faintly. "You said once humans keep fighting even when it hurts. Guess you were right." Before she could reach him, the light engulfed everything. When Sarah opened her eyes, she was lying outside the chamber. The planet was silent again. The storm clouds were gone. She stood slowly, looking around him, and froze. The plateau where they had landed was glowing with symbols. Human and Vracs merged together, forming one circle. In the center, a faint blue spark hovered, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. "Ryan," she whispered. The spark shimmered once, then spread across the horizon, a wave of light sweeping across the planet and up into space. Far above, fleets from both species received the same signal, a broadcast from the origin. It showed the truth, the architect's words, the corruption, and the final sacrifice. Across worlds, the fighting stopped. Soldiers lowered their weapons. For the first time in centuries, there was silence. Weeks later, Sarah stood on the bridge of a new ship, a joint human-Vrax vessel. She looked out at the stars and whispered, "He said he wanted to make things right." And he did. A soft voice came from the console, faint but familiar. "Still fighting, huh?" Sarah froze. The voice, Ryan's voice, echoed through the ship's comms, calm and distant. "The Corps saved a copy of me. Looks like I'm not gone yet." Tears welled in her eyes. "Then you're part of the stars now. Guess that's where I belong," he said with a smile in his tone. "Keep them safe, Sarah." The signal faded, leaving only silence and the stars.